What's up, and welcome everybody on Twitch, Periscope, YouTube. We are getting ready for our Facebook followers to join us live. My name is Frank Salas, and I go by the name of Talented Mr. Salas. And if you're watching this, guys, you know what this is already. This is Millennial Marketers. This is a show for really awesome people just like you that want to grow and build their businesses. So our Facebook followers are coming in here very, very shortly. We had to shake the hands of Mr. Zuckerberg. Really appreciate you guys' patience for you guys catching us live. All right. What's up? Welcome everybody to today's show. My name is Frank Salas, and I go by the name of Talented Mr. Salas. Hey, I'm right here in my little hammock in Medellin, Colombia. I'm right next to the jungle. I'm just having a good time over here. I got a great guest for you guys. His name is Donnie Bovine, and he is a legit just mental success coach, global entrepreneur, public speaker. But this is Millennial Marketers. This show is for people who are looking to grow their business, looking to build their business. This is for real estate professionals. This is for marketing agency owners or entrepreneurs who handle their own marketing. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to introduce Mr. Donnie Bovine. Donnie, what's up, man?
Hey, brother, how are you? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, dude. So I kind of bought your intro. I'm not going to lie. You know, a lot of stuff going on and on the background from my end. So tell me a little bit more about you.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for the introduction, man. I'm an international motivational speaker, coach. Everything's based on the sales background. I spent 19 years as a straight commission sales guy. The last eight of those, I actually went around the U.S. training people how to do sales. So that's a lot of my focus. But I really work with entrepreneurs, Fortune 5 and 1s, a lot on how do you get out of your own damn way so you can actually go do the things you want to do. I really think that everybody kind of has these dreams, visions, these goals. They have these things they want to do, but every time they take a step forward, those little voices pop up in the back of their head and start whooping their ass. So I focus a lot on how do you remove that stuff out of your way so you can actually go and create the life that you want. And it's all based on 19 years of getting my teeth kicked in as a sales guy and learning through, you know, the trenches and all the shit that I went through on my journey so far.
Yeah, man. And so you kind of have a signature talk, a signature platform called Unleash Your Inner Badass. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, 100%. So I think everybody's got this badass on the inside of them. And I think that there's certain times people can pull it out, but I think there's other times they really, really struggle with trying to unleash that so they can go be the person their fans or the people that already look up to them already think they are, right? A lot of people move through life and they're struggling with their own self-concept of, can they do this? Do they have the energy, right? Can they handle this hustle? Can they handle all the work? Well, the truth is that they can. They just don't know always how to unleash it. So really quick, I'll walk you through one of the things that I do to get people to figure it out. Is I believe inside each one of us, there's this internal fire that's burning inside. Now, for some people, this fire is a small, little, tiny flame. Others, it's like a campfire. And then for others, it's like this big-ass bonfire that it's so burning so bright that it actually ignites others around them. And this whole process goes on internally. Well, in the dark corners of the cavern that makes up you, there's this little flipping gremlin that sits back there, and he's lived with you your entire damn life. And he hates the fire. So what happens is every time you go for it, that little bastard jumps out on your shoulder and goes, hey, you remember last time you tried this? You remember last time you tried to go for this? You screwed it up. You jacked it up, right? And every time you make a move forward, that bastard's right there whispering in your ears because he knows if you actually start getting successful, that fire gets bigger, and then he can't live in his dark spaces. So we work through process how to punch that dude in the face so we can keep progressing, moving forward in life, and learn how to get past all that shit that pops up between your ears so you can continue moving forward on a regular basis.
Man, I love that, dude. So a big segment of my audience is young entrepreneurs who we call them millennial marketers. Shout out to all the millennial marketers out there. These are people who are choosing to forego college, drop out of college, and not live the 19th century lifestyle. We're looking to upgrade and we're starting businesses. And that's all fine and dandy. And they're like, hoorah. But then they actually got to build a business. And I'm like, yo, here's the cold email script. It works. You just got to call 10,000 people. Call 10,000 people. You'll have what you're looking for. And they're like, but it's too hard. That is it. And they just start complaining. And so their little gremlin comes out in the form of a little bitch. And so how do you unleash your inner badass to someone like that?
Yeah. So 100%. It's really about not giving a shit, right? Too many people. The reason they don't do it a lot of times is they're too fucking concerned about the person sitting across from them. They're worried that this person's not going to like them, or they're worried that they're going to make themselves look like a fool, or they're worried they're going to get made fun of. The trick is, all that noise is that damn gremlin chattering his ass off. So what I tell people is, every time you get to that uncomfortable feeling, that's the universe saying go. So that's when you know you have to push through all that stuff, because all it is when you get that eerie, odd feeling, the more you stack up against it, the more you can push through it. So for me, if you're going to talk cold calls, which I can do all day long, if you're doing cold emails, cold calls, everything else, it's 100% about rhythm, okay? What people do is they get all geared up and like, okay, for this hour, I'm going to do all these cold calls. For this hour, I'm going to do all these emails. And they go do one, and that one sucked. They go do the next one, that one sucked. They go do the next one, that one sucked. And by the fifth one, they're like, dude, this all sucks. And what happens is they're not pushing through that shit to get the rhythm. And sometimes, you can hit on the first time and that rhythm kicks in and you can go for the next 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it may take a half hour, 45 minutes to find that vibe and find that flow so you can keep on going. The trick is you got to push until you tip the scale to where all momentum comes in and you get past all the thoughts of, dude, this guy's going to make fun of me, or I'm going to fuck this up, whatever else, right? And just keep pushing forward on the entire process. To get really, really tactical, one thing you can do is tag team up with somebody else that's doing it at the same time. So I used to love doing this when I taught cold calls all the time, because cold calls suck. And, dude, I stand in front of rooms and do live cold calls to teach it. But if you're really getting hung up on it, go find somebody else that's doing it, and then do the you go, I go, right? Because then what happens is, if you really blow a call, you two can laugh at each other and go, dude, you freaking sucked on that one, right? And then go again and get the next one, whether it's email, whatever it is. Partner up so you have a tag team like you used to do in that old WWF wrestling shit, right? But get somebody so you can tag them in, bring them in as part of the whole deal, and then you're actively rising up together. And then when you're going through your own shit and your gremlin's chattering his ass off, your buddy can help you knock that dude off your freaking shoulder and keep moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man, that makes total sense. And so some people, they excel in a buddy system and in a buddy environment. Some people excel, on their own. It just kind of depends. And you've got to be very self-aware. You got to know who you are and what works for you. So a lot of people come to me and they're like, Frank, you do this like this, and I want to do stuff like you. And I'm like, man, I don't think you want to. Is that really what you want? And a lot of people want what other people are doing or have, but they haven't taken the time to figure out what they want. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, 100%. So I think, there's two types of people in this world. There's people that like to carve the trail, right? They're the dude out front in the machete going through the jungle, like you're at, right? Going through the jungle, knocking down the trees, going to everything else, right? Some people are that way. And if you're that person, freaking cool, rock it, listen to this stuff, get some information, and keep on with your hustle, right? If you're not the person that wants to carve the freaking trail out, follow the path of the dude who's cutting the trail, but don't walk in his footsteps, because it's not your stride, right? You have to make your own freaking footprint, right? I mean, if I'm following a dude that's 7'8", there is no way my footprint and footsteps are going to fit in his stride, right? I got to make my own stride. So with everything you learn, you got to put it in your language. Because the minute somebody tries to be Frank Salas, the minute somebody tries to be Donnie Bovine, you become so inauthentic, and people see through that shit like it's nobody's business. In this day and age, when everything can be put out there in social and everything else, you have to be authentic as shit, right? Because the minute you try and act or become somebody you're not, dude, they are going to call bullshit on that so quickly, and it's over, right? People want to hear the journey. They want to hear the struggle. They want to hear the wins. They want to hear your losses. And people are so scared that if I put my losses out there, if I put my screw-ups out there, that it's going to make me look bad. No, it makes you look authentic and human, right? And the more that authenticness you can put out there in the marketplace, man, more people are willing to show up. I'd rather somebody go on and do some social campaign by grabbing their phone and just talk about what's going on in their business, talk about what's going on in their life, versus trying to do this catchy can commercial thing because they're trying to make shit go viral. And if you just be yourself, the world will adjust to you, and your people will show up. And I don't care what business you're growing. You get people that are just like you showing up on a regular basis, dude, you will build a mint and just absolutely build that life you've been chasing. So don't think I got to be Frank. Don't think I got to be Donnie. Think, how do I take the shit that I'm learning from them and make it mine? How do I own what they're doing and put my own spin on it, right? I mean, Frank, you and I could go on to a sales call with anybody else, and, dude, we're going to have such different styles. We're both going to walk away winning that deal in our own perspective, but there's no way I can sell or talk to people the way you do and vice versa. You got to be your freaking self, and quit putting this mask on. That's the other thing is people are one way at home. You know, they're kind of this friend, this, that, and the other, and then they get into a business environment, and it's like they put this mask over their face and become somebody completely else because they're trying to act like the person they think that person across from them wants them to be, right? And it happens all the time. It's the worst in sales, right? You take somebody in sales that's like this nice, sweet, person, you put them in a sales call, and all of a sudden they're like this gregarious, aggressive, mean, rough. I'm like, what the hell? Just be you. The world will adjust.
The world will adjust. I like that. I like that a lot, man. So there's a lot of things that you broke down in there, just mostly being authentic. And a lot of people think that, they've got to be out there and they've got to be the next Gary Vee, or they've got to go and make videos, all this kind of stuff. I would rather somebody just instead of telling me your wins, instead of telling me your losses, I would rather somebody just perform. Like the best performers I've ever met in my life, they don't talk about it, they don't flaunt it, they don't flash it, they just show up and they execute. Talk to us about just showing up.
Yeah. So I will put it in this context. I think it's more about repetition in showing up, right? So everything in life comes down to a rhythm. And if you're telling somebody you're successful, I can guarantee you're not, right? Because just like you said, the ones that are actually killing it and doing something with their life, they don't give a shit about impressing you by telling you about all their freaking wins. They're just doing it. So I think for a lot of people, especially starting out, is you've got to get repetitious as hell. And look, guys, business development and growing a business should become almost the most mundane activity in the world, because it's not about getting it right. It's about doing it over and over and over and over, and then sitting down and doing it again, right? So it's showing up, but it's about doing the things that you absolutely have to do to grow your business and get consistent as hell about doing those on a regular basis. Because what happens is people start, right? They start, and then as soon as it sucks, they stop, and then they squirrel out and go to a different direction. And when you go a different direction, you shut off all that momentum, all that rhythm, that if they would just be consistent and continually push forward, they're going to push through all that muck that is slowing them down, and all that stuff that is holding them back, keep them from, in the words of Gary Vee, crushing it, right? And moving forward. A lot of people talk about showing up, and it's one thing to show up somewhere. It's another thing to show up and do a specific behavior that allows you to move your business forward. I mean, people can show up to a networking event. People can show up and, sit down to do emails. People can show up to go do cold calls. People can sit down to do social media. But if you don't actually do the activity, you can show up all day long. You've got to do the activity that pushes your business forward. And people tell me all the time, they're like, dude, I'm not motivated enough to do that. I'm like, you're an idiot. Motivation is not a feeling. Motivation is an action. You got to go start and do, and then motivation kicks in. They should really change the word motivation to activation, right? And the more you do, the more motivation shows up. But most people are like, dude, if I could just get motivated, I could do all those things. I could do social media. I could do email. I could do school. No, it's not it. Just do, and then motivation will follow, and you'll do more, and you'll get a hell of a lot better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, man, that makes total sense. That makes total sense. And so where I can contribute is, for me as an entrepreneur, I started doing that for a long time, and I found that I saw a lot of buttons that I could push, and every time I pushed that button, success would come from that button. And what I've gotten really good at over the last few years has been breaking down what is that button exactly, what is 1A, what is 1B, what is 1C, what is 1D, and even more importantly, putting that down into a physical document with trainings and other supporting features there. And what I do is I recruit, just like you do. We talked about how we outsource to different parts of the world, and we find people who are hardworking, who are amazing, and we find people to push those buttons on our behalf. So as you're scaling a business, instead of doing those repetitions over and over again like you do in the startup, once you start to scale and you get past that point, for me, business gets really fun because now I have all these buttons that are being pushed. Business is coming in, and it's like Tetris. Tetris is just like, boom, boom, boom. It's exciting. So that's why I really love entrepreneurship. And so for me, that's how I unleash my inner badass, is when I get to scale. And what pushes me through that particular, startup phase, which is very painful, which most businesses never ever pass, unfortunately, is my eyes always on the prize. I'm always thinking about the end results. When I got to do something that sucks, I hate the mundane. I hate doing things over and over again. I need stimulation. And so for me, my treat or my carrot that I'm chasing is once I get to scale, then I get to satisfy my different itches that I get from outsourcing. So if you could talk to us maybe about not staying motivated, but actually, because I don't like motivation. Motivation is a fleeting thing. Just staying committed to the very startup process to get to that next level. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost jumped in a second ago, but here's the trick: is people got to realize that you're on a journey, right? Our entire life is a journey, and if you go to any of the badass movies that have ever came out, especially anything where a gray old wizard pops up out of somewhere and takes these people on this freaking quest or whatever else, that's your damn life, right? Your entire life is wrapped around, going and learning and coming back and teaching somebody. And if you keep in the back of your head that you're in this game to go on these badass quests, and look, in every one of those badass movies that's ever come out, dude, it never goes smooth. They're going to lose somebody along the way. They're going to get, shot, whatever else, right? And all along the way, but they're still going. I mean, you go even so far as something like, I don't know, old school, like the Lord of the Rings. They had to drop the freaking ring in whatever, the volcano or whatever, right? It didn't matter everything else that hopped in. That's where they're going. So if you think that in your head that I'm on a journey and I'm trying to get to dropping that ring in the freaking volcano, whatever it is, whatever that final destination is, then everything else gets easier because everything else then becomes a learning experience along the way. And I tell people is sometimes looking at today sucks, right? Because today sucks. Bills are tight. All this shit going on. Things are exploding. If you focus on today, dude, you're liable to turn it all off. But if you instead go, shit, I'm just doing today to get to there, wherever my journey, wherever my destination is taking me, now you can start racking it up as a learning experience. And I love how Gary Vee talks about, people just don't understand patience, because he's 100% right. Even some of the young entrepreneurs that I talk to, they're like, shit, I just don't know if I can make this work. And I'm like, how long have you been doing that? And they're like, I'm 7 months into it. I'm like, shit, dude, you're just getting started. You're going to have to do a crap ton and learn a hell of a lot more, be able to go through it. So where are you going? Where's that place you're trying to get to so you can continue moving forward? Which goes back to courage actually creates confidence. right? And what I mean by that is it's when you get stacked up with it and you're getting too much in your head and that gremlin's chattering his ass off, right? If you have the courage to step forward and do those things you don't want to do, the gremlin starts shutting up, right? Because that's when the motivation kicks in, right? Nothing happens until you take an action and moving forward. And I think where a lot of entrepreneurs screw up is they have that vision of, oh, well, shit, well, I can work from a hammock. I can be anywhere in the world and just run a company. Well, sure, you can, but if you don't do the work, you don't have a freaking company, right? So I'm very big on regimenting out your day and having an absolute system that you're following every day to get very consistent. I get a lot of people that ask me, they're like, Donnie, how do you put out so many, you do your newsletters, you're doing your social posts, you're doing your videos, you're doing your emails, how do you do that? And I'm like, dude, it's a system. I'm up at 5:20 every freaking morning. Then I'm going out to my farm, taking care of all my farm animals. I come in, I journal, which is huge in my world. I then sit down, I'll write an article that's going to go out on social media. I will do a video that's going to go out on social media. I will always have a live video scheduled for some point in the day, right? But almost all of that stuff happens before 7:30 in the morning, which allows me to go out and start doing the things I really love to do because I get a lot of the mundane shit out of the way. So, and in learning that process, I used to be in the middle of that. I used to, work heavy on finding my own podcast and finding a lot of my own speaking engagements. But like you and I talked about before, I now got people that do a lot of work for me in other countries that help me find all that stuff so I don't have to do that as part of my regimen. But if you put everything you've got to do and put it to a calendar and do it on the off hours, particularly the hours that you can't be in front of your client doing the things you need to be doing to grow your business, you'll be amazed how much you can accomplish in a day, and how much you can keep that whole vibe rolling by merely getting your entire life and business regimented.
Man, I love it. I love it. So there's so many things that you'd said. I want to bring up a few things, but the first thing I want to bring up is just how you broke down how just to break that hurdle. It's just a process, and you said it. It's like it's a system. It's a process. It's something that I do. Is that correct?
100%. 100%. Right.
Awesome.
Because if you put it as a process, right, then it doesn't become as mundane. It's just part of my job.
I love it, man. I love it. And then another thing you said is that you like to get up early. You like to handle your stuff and have a routine. I agree. I get up very early. On the weekdays, I'll probably go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, which is super boring. And then I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll have from 3 o'clock until about 7 o'clock to just do what I got to do, start my day, have a half day in, and then I go to the gym. My team members come in, and I'm able to, pick up where I left off. And it's just great having that routine. And finally, the last thing that you had said is you journal. And I think this is a huge thing. I'm really big into self-awareness, having self-talk, all that. Talk to us about journaling.
Absolutely. Journaling was one of those things I struggled with for years. I'm a former United States Marine, and one of my coaches, I think everybody should have coaches in their life, mentors in their life, people that are teaching them the things that they don't know. So I was sitting with one of my coaches one time, and I was in a real bad sales slump, right? I was poor, pitiful me, sales sucked, everything was not moving forward, and I was bitching and moaning to my coach. And all of my coaches are usually some pretty rough and tumble type guys. And he looked at me and he said, "Hey, look here, you idiot. Are you freaking journaling?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to journal." He goes, "Why not?" And I said, "Dude, journaling's something like 12-year-old little girls do, right? They draw pictures when they're in junior high and shit. So I'm not doing that stupid shit." And he looked at me, he goes, without skipping a beat, and goes, "That's not how you journal, jackass." And I killed right back at him. I said, "Dude, if I ever write a book, I'm 100% calling it that." So that's what I did. And he taught me or gave me a ton of different ideas on how to journal. But the problem was none of the things he was telling me to do, I could get behind. And, you know, he told me to doodle journal and bullet journal and all these things, and none of them would fit my style. And I realized part of the problem is I was trying to fit a round peg into a square hole, and it wasn't going to work for me. And I was also mentally looking at it from the perspective of the shit's not going to work anyway, so why freaking do it? So one morning I sat down and said, all right, there's got to be a way to figure this out. And I wrote on a piece of paper, and I literally said, why the hell do I hate journaling? And then for some reason, I wrote for like 10 minutes after that. And I'm like, well, shit, how did that happen? So the next day I got up and I asked another question, and I wrote for 10 minutes. And then I found that there's a rhythm to actually journaling. And once I figured out that rhythm, I literally tripled my income. We bought our big-ass farm in Texas. And all the animals. I was able to build a second house for my in-laws on the backside of our farm and our property. And then my business took off like nobody's business, all because I could get out of my own head, right? What happens to a lot of people is they don't know how to beat up that freaking gremlin. So that gremlin starts telling us stories, and he tells us we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, we're not fast enough, right? And he starts feeding all that shit in our head. Well, we start believing those stories unless we can get them out. So I found for me, by using journaling, I could get those stories out of my head, get them on paper, and then I could dissect them and go, okay, why is that slowing me down? Why is that holding me back? And it completely changed my perspective on life. And, you know, for free on there, and as part of this whole thing, I'm sure you're going to say it anyway, so I'm going to take your fire. As part of this, I actually have a free ebook that's called That's Not How You Journal, Jackass. So if you struggled with journaling and it's something you've always wanted to get behind and do, and everything you've tried hasn't worked, dude, go to my website and download this free ebook. Two things will happen. One, the ebook is completely free. But the second thing is after you get the ebook, you'll actually get invited to a private Facebook group that gives you journal prompts every morning that allows you to keep journaling going and surround yourself with other people that are journaling on a regular basis. Because I'm a firm believer that one of the greatest ways to rise and go as big as you want in this world is to surround yourself with other badasses that are going for it. Because the more you find people that are as jazzed up and energetic as you and going for it, the quicker and faster you will rise as well. So with journaling, I put a group of folks that are actively journaling every day and going for it, and then we're all rising up together with it. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great stuff. So, man, you know, you said a few things that I really want to touch on. Everybody that I know at a high performance or at a high level has a coach. So right now, myself, I've got 8 different people around me. I've got a weekly coach who talks to me about different decisions. And for me, I like the interaction because I can process things. If I write it down, I feel like it's not real. And if I speak to it with somebody and someone's kind of like a sounding board almost and just kind of says, well, why do you think that?
Right.
Why do you have that limiting belief? I have to like either accept it or defend it. And it's not like they're telling me, you know, what I do. They just create a really awesome space. And so that kind of support is also support that I offer my clients because I find most entrepreneurs don't have that system around them. And they've got all these people saying, you know, why don't you just get a regular job? Or why don't you just do this? Or why don't you just do everything else that society does? And it's like, that's another gremlin that somebody else is putting into their cave that we've got to extract as well. So, yeah, man, what is the link to your journal?
Yeah, so it's DonnieBovine.com. That's DONNIE, B as in boy, OI, V as in Victor, IN.com/jackass-journal.
Gotcha. Perfect. Awesome. So and
I want to talk about that really quick is what people don't also realize is so that gremlin's done the entire ride with it, but you have a gremlin as well. And sometimes our gremlins talk to each other, right? And what's happening is my gremlin's telling yours what to tell me, so he can have a better story, right? So it's that things like, dude, go get a real job. Dude, this is not going to work. The hell are you doing with your life, right? And that's all because my gremlin is telling your gremlin what to tell you to say to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's shutting everything down, and that's where all that shit comes from.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So we had some questions. We had some huge love for our girl Shannon White, and she is has some questions about us. It's a sales question actually, and she wants to know how do you get commissioned salespeople, or how do you get people to get paid or to agree to get paid after the sale?
All right, so two things. The biggest thing is if you're going to go for the straight commission route, which is the route that I ran my entire career on. If you're going to go for the straight commission route, you've got to find people that believe in whatever you're selling first. Okay? You're not going to find somebody that wants to sell your stuff unless they're as passionate about it as you are. So you've got to dangle the carrot. And what I would tell you is start looking in the pool of people that you're already selling to, right? And start finding out if they want to make a living off of this product and service. It's almost a multi-level marketing model, which I'm not a big fan of, but that model of finding other people who are very passionate about your stuff and go, look, you're already buying all this stuff and you're already buying these things off me. Wouldn't it be cool if you turn this into a business? And now you buy it up. Because what most people try and do is they try and go steal somebody off the street and say, you're now going to come work for me for free. And, oh, by the way, you're not going to get paid for a year because it's going to take you a while to ramp up, right? That model just doesn't work. You've got to go find people that already believe in your stuff and then bring them on as part of your team. And then that way they already have the momentum and passion behind your stuff to move forward. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, that really does. That's awesome, man. And I want to contribute for those, for Miss White, who's just, been so supportive of this show on our Facebook audience. We really appreciate that. Yeah, so for me, when I got my commission salespeople, they came to me. I'm very known for focusing on lead generation, and I was demonstrating a lot of the bot technology. So I automate a lot of my outreach. I used to have virtual assistants or remote employees in different countries, but, they were human, and they had to go to sleep and eat, and they had needs. So I replaced people with robots, and now my robots, even like right now in this moment, I'm actually getting emails from all over the world for one of my particular niches as we're doing this interview. And it's just really cool because I now have that reputation of having a bunch of leads. And so salespeople are now coming to me and say, please, let me at your leads. Let me at your leads. And so now it's a great position to be in. So I love to focus. I love to begin with the end in mind, like Dr. Stephen Covey says. And if you want to, scale your business, you need a bunch of leads. That's the first thing I focus on.
Absolutely, right? And I think people often forget that sales and marketing go side by side, right? You can do both independent, but man, if you can mash those two together, you will absolutely kill it in this world. So first and foremost is you got to understand what is it that you're selling, and you're never selling your tangible service. You're never selling your tangible item. You're selling an experience, right? And if you can wrap your head around that you're selling an experience to somebody, life gets a lot easier. And if you will take everything you do and put it in perspective of the person you're trying to sell to, it makes the conversation a lot easier. And that works for sales, it works for marketing, it works for everything. And you build a brand that people will buy into, like Frank's done, like I've done. People will start raising their hands.
I love it, man. I love it. So, yeah, we don't want to monopolize your time too much, man. We really appreciate you helping us serve. Again, we have got the link out there in the show notes for you, so make sure you check that out. Absolutely free download. Donnie, I've got a lot of people, especially young kids, especially like a lot of young entrepreneurs who, like, they see the systems effed off. They're like, my daddy went to college. He's not even getting Social Security. He's not getting a pension. I'm not signing up for that. That seems like the worst way to go to right now. And this guy, Frank Salas, every day is talking to me about starting a marketing agency, and I'm even thinking about getting mentorship from him to start my own marketing agency. And that's all great and fine, but at the end of the day, they just watch more videos, man. You're probably out there right now going to watch another video after this and not do something to focus on your business. So my intention for making these shows is to give you some motivation, inspiration, some tactical knowledge that you can now absorb and then implement into your life. So for somebody who watched this whole interview, who's a young person, young guy, young woman, want to start their own marketing business or whatever kind of business, but they're just like, I've got that little gremlin, man, and he's always going to be there. What would you tell them to just say, let's just do it, man. Let's just take action. Yeah,
it's 100% get off your ass. Because You are not going to get where you want to go in life by sitting on your ass. And here's what I mean. Is if you sit down right now after this and you've gotten some great tactical advice on how to move forward with stuff, if you don't get off your ass and walk away from your computer, sit down and go old school with a pad and paper and write out what's my game plan, what's my strategy, how do I move forward, and then go back and implement that shit that you just wrote down, you're going to come back, you're going to fire up your computer, jump right back on and watch another video, and be exactly where you are right now. Everything is action, right? Action is not watching another freaking video. Action is, as much as Frank and I love to have the support and everybody watching our stuff, we love it, but at the end of the day, we're both doing this so you guys can freaking rise up and go create that life that you're trying to get after and not become a part of the black and white system of the world that's been created before you. So if you don't take action, then 5 years from now, you're going to be looking back and going, what the hell's happened with my life? It's 100% about getting off your ass and go freaking do it and turning off the noise around you so you can freaking free up your mind, and then absolutely the rest will follow.
Man, I love it. I love it. Donnie, thank you so much for coming on and helping me serve my audience. It was a pleasure to have you on. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. I appreciate it, brother.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that was Millennial Marketers. This episode is called Unleash Your Inner Badass. My boy Donnie came in. He helped me serve. Make sure you guys reach out. And when you reach out to him, tell him that the talented Mr. Salas sent you. Go check out his ebook. We've got our link or his link in the show notes. So just check it out. It's absolutely free. And if you're somebody who's watched this, you're fired up, you're ready, like, man, I'm ready to make a shift in my life, and you want to talk to a marketing expert, somebody who's ready to scale your business, I would love to have a conversation with you. The best way to engage me is go to my Facebook page and go to www.facebook.com/talented Mr. Salas. I love mentoring people who are growth-oriented and action takers. A lot of the stuff that I'm going to teach you is, first and foremost, an early adoption phase, which means you have to take action now. The thing I showed you last week may not work 10 days from now, so we got to take action now. I'm also looking for people that are growth-oriented. I'm going to ask you to go outside your comfort zone because that's the only way that you grow. That's the only way you get to that next level. So if you're interested in that, if you want Frank Salas on your team, if you want to learn my inner circle and my winner circle, reach out to me on Facebook over at Talented Mr. Salas. Thank you so much, guys. Hasta luego. This episode of Millennial Marketers is brought to you by the gorgeous states of Antioquia, Colombia. Frank's wardrobe was sponsored by Banana Republic. Donnie's truck was sponsored by Ford. This has been another episode of Millennial Marketers. Enjoy the rest of your